Hello, everyone. Welcome to the behind the scenes how I make my stuff video. Love and sunshine. And first up, we're making pouring medium. So I use a Parfix PVA glue that I grabbed from Bunnings. I'm sure you'd be able to somewhere worldwide find the equivalent of that. I use also filtered water. Grab an old soda water bottle, give it a rinse out, pop it on the scales, and tear it off. In this 2-to-1 recipe, I put in my 1 part of water first. And the reason for that is because I don't want big globs of glue in the bottom of my bottle. So I pop that one in first and I put in 333 grams of that and tear it off. Then I grab my PVA glue and put in the 2 parts of this recipe. So that goes in at 666 grams of PVA glue. Now, I would really strongly advise that when you're purchasing your glue, if you want good quality results, don't go super cheap. I know when you're starting out, you've got to buy so much stuff, but this is a really important part of your paint moving forward in your pieces. The pouring medium makes up a large percentage of the pouring paint that you'll go forward to mix. So it's really important to have good quality ingredients here at this point. So yeah, you get what you pay for. So don't skimp out on that one. Pop the lid on the bottle, give it a really good shake up. You want it all combined. You don't want separation between your water and your PVA here at this point. And also, like if it's been sitting around for a while, I always give the bottle a really good shake before I use it because you're not going to use up a liter of pouring medium unless you're doing a really, really super large piece. This will last you for a little while. Like you should be able to make up all of your paints that you want to use in your piece with this quantity that I'm mixing up here. So it makes up about 1 kilo, which is roughly about a fluid liter of pouring medium. And there you go, all done. There's a recipe in case you need to screenshot it or write it down or whatever you want to do. And first step is done. Okay, now we have our pouring medium. We're going to make our pouring paint, our fluid paint that we're going to actually use on our canvases. So I like to put in the pouring medium component first. This is a 2-to-1 as well. To roughly make about 64 grams of paint using the 2-to-1, I put in 42 grams of pouring medium because when you add the paint, it's much thicker. And if you put the paint in first, it can leave globs. This is just a titanium white medium bodied studio paint that I use, and I spatula it out of the container and pop it in. That's the 1 part. So I put in 21 grams of that and I mix that into the pouring medium, and that makes pouring paint. And at this point, you really need to make sure that you're mixing this in thoroughly. You do need to mix for a good while. I've sped this up. My hands don't move that fast. Well, yeah, not without creating a great big mess. So take your time. Make sure that you scrape down the sides of your cup as well, because sometimes the paint sort of gets pushed to the side and gets stuck. Make sure you scrape the bottom, all of that. And you will know when it's combined well because it's very smooth. It doesn't come off the spatula in chunks. And, you know, try not to agitate it too vigorously because you'll create a lot of air bubbles in there as well. You want it coming off the spatula, like I was saying, in a smooth fluid motion. It should leave a slight mound and then fall away. I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can sort of get a bit more of a close up, but it's flowing off smoothly, making a mound and dissipating into the main body of the paint. And that's what you want to see. So yeah, there you go. You've made pouring paint, fluid paint, and there is a recipe for that. Roughly makes up about 60 grams, 2 to 1, 42 of the pouring medium, then pop in your 21 grams of paint for this recipe. Okay, moving on to the next mix that I use Floetrol. I use Australian Floetrol. I'm Australian. You guys in America or people from Great Britain area are going to use a different product here. I believe Flood still manufactures Floetrol in America, and I think in Great Britain it's called Artful. It's used by professional painters to reduce brush marks and to stop paint sticking in spray guns and things like that. So I'm guessing it's some kind of lubricant. It's a paint conditioner anyway, and it makes stunningly beautiful effects when mixed with acrylic paint and poured onto a canvas. So that's about the extent of my knowledge there. I use the Floetrol in substitution for a PVA/water mix for my pouring medium. It basically substitutes the pouring medium. It is the pouring medium in the mix of paint here. So I like to strain by putting a piece of hose on the top of the bottle because I buy it in 4-liter bulk bottles. It sits for around for a while in between being mixed, and it does seem to get a little bit thicker as it goes. I guess as it oxidizes potentially. So I do that. You could potentially use a fine tea strainer or something to pour it through, but I do recommend that you do strain it because you don't want chunks in your paint at all. It's still used at a 2 to 1 ratio. I put the Floetrol in first because it's the more liquid of the two, just the same as the PVA pouring medium. And then I pop in the weight of the paint. So it's a 2 to 1, roughly 60 odd grams make up this amount that you're seeing here. So it's I do 42 and 21 in a 2 to 1. Mix it thoroughly, just the same as the other one. You won't see a visible difference when you're mixing it. It doesn't appear to be. So don't get them confused. Make sure you mark your Floetrol bottles or your pouring medium bottles because it's so easy to forget, and you'll know when you put it on the canvas if you have one or the other. It's not visible to the naked eye from what I can tell anyway. So I try to remember to always label my bottles. Give it a good thorough stirring, like everything that you're going to do with your mixing. You want to scrape the sides, you want to scrape the bottom of the cup as well, and take your time, enjoy the, somewhat single-minded task of pouring. I know I do. I find it quite therapeutic. Um, you want it coming off nice and smoothly, just like all of the rest of them. A little bit of a close up there to show you. I do hope that wherever you are, you can actually get hold of some Australian Floetrol. I think you can buy it off Amazon, maybe. There are probably other places that you can get it if you're not actually in Australia. It is a little bit more expensive, but I do feel like it's probably worth it for you if you want to get the exact same kind of results. There's nothing quite like the Australian Floetrol. There's a recipe if you need to pause it, and that is that one. All right, so we've got our paints mixed up. I've got Floetrol, I've got a pouring medium, and I additionally mixed up a black paint that's just mixed with PVA water for the pouring medium. And we are going to test our consistency now. This is another really important factor when you're doing fluid art, that you want your consistency to match. You want it as close as possible so you don't so it's fluid, you want it to be smooth and to mix together. There are some exceptions to the rule. Sometimes I leave my metallic paints a little bit on the thicker side, but generally speaking, this is the very basics of how you want to get your paint to behave. So I'm putting on my Floetrol white, my pouring medium white, and some of my black pouring medium. So we can then, you'll never throw away cardboard boxes again after this. I just recycle, cut mine up into small little squares there so I can just do this over and over and over again. I do it all the time. And you just put on an equal amount of the paint you want to test and just let it fall. Let gravity do its thing. And you can see there that the pouring medium white is much more fluid than either of the other two. So at this point, you want to do adjustments. So I'm starting with the black and I'm adding more pouring medium to the black, because it contains pouring medium. I know it sounds obvious, but you don't want to mix your Floetrol into your pouring medium mix unless you want that desired effects. But we're keeping them separated for the moment. I'm putting water into the Floetrol mix. You can also add water into your pouring medium mix too. Just add little bits at a time at this point, because there's not a big amount of paint that we're dealing with here. It's only 60 grams. So small amounts go a long way when you're doing these finer adjustments. You might have to do multiple times as I'm doing here. Just be patient, take your time, make sure everything's mixed in properly, and reapply your dops. So that's why I cut up all my cardboard boxes, cereal boxes, muesli bar boxes, any of it, and just keep a little stockpile of those, because you're going to do this over and over and over again, which is fine, and you'll get better at it with practice. On this new card, I'm putting down my dops again and letting it fall. And you can see that my consistency is even, and that's what you want to see. You want it all to fall down at an even rate. So I'm calling that good, and that is testing your paint consistency. Well, that's about it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more of these ones, and I will see you in the next video.